So hello friends, welcome to the physiology class. So today we will be discussing some important terminologies plus some determinants of cardiac output. Okay, the topic is more concerned about the cardiac output. Now I want you to tell me, you to understand first that what is the definition of cardiac output, what is the definition of systolic volume, stroke volume, sorry, and diastolic volume and systolic volume, ejection fraction, cardiac index, mean blood pressure, pulmonary vascular resistance, systemic vascular resistance. These all terminology should be clear. Okay, so I would like to teach them, and you should write them on your notes also. Okay, so if I talk about some, so I should talk about some parameters. Okay, so some names. So first is a stroke volume. Stroke volume. What is stroke volume? Stroke volume. Stroke volume. We say SV. Stroke volume means, listen to my words, listen to my words. It is the of blood, amount of blood which is ejected by each ventricle per stroke. So once you give one stroke or one contraction by each ventricle, are we clear? So each ventricle by a single ventricle which is ejecting that blood, that will be a stroke volume. So if I say these are the two ventricles and I tell you this is 90 or 70 to 90 ml, and this is also 70 to 90 ml. Okay. So I tell you what is this 70 and 90 ml. I tell you a heart is contracting and it is ejecting 70 to 90 ml of blood. So you should say it is a stroke volume. So what is stroke volume? It is the amount of blood which is ejected by each ventricle per stroke, or which is ejected by a single ventricle during rapid ejection and slow ejection phase. Can I use the word rapid ejection and slow ejection phase? Yes, sir. Because rapid ejection plus slow ejection, rapid ejection plus slow ejection, these are equal to what? They are the part of cardiac systole, ventricular systole. Because in the rapid ejection, ejection means you are throwing the blood out from the chambers, and slow ejection means again that less amount of blood, but yeah, it is ejecting, it's coming out from the ventricle. So that means here in these two cases we are talking about the same ventricular systole. Ventricular systole means ventricular contraction. Once you contract, blood will eject. So that amount of blood which is ejected by a single ventricle during rapid ejection and slow ejection phase will be called stroke volume, will be called stroke volume. I hope you can write it. You can rewind the video and listen. Okay. Now I go next to the and diastolic volume. And diastolic volume. Okay. And diastolic volume. And diastolic volume means it is the amount of blood. So it is and diastolic volume. What does it mean? Means at the end of diastole, whatever volume you have will be the end diastolic volume. So whatever volume you have at the end of the ventricular total relaxation will be called end diastolic volume. And diastolic volume, it is the amount of blood in the ventricle but at the end of the diastole. You have to say the phase. Okay, so it's the amount of blood which is present in the ventricle at the end of diastole. How much amount? Approximately 130 ml. Okay, then I go to the next parameter. The next parameter will be, if I wrote here end diastolic volume, now I will be writing end systolic volume, ESV. So end systolic volume, and systolic volume. And systolic volume means it is the volume of blood within a single ventricle, within a single ventricle at the end of systole. Single ventricle is important to say. We have to speak about whether single or double ventricle. Okay. So single ventricle, what is the amount of blood remaining? So what is the amount of blood that is remaining? That amount of blood at the end of systole, at the end of systole, how much amount? Because heart does not empty fully. When the heart contracts, it's not emptying fully. This concept should be clear. It's remaining, some blood is remaining there. Okay, it's not that heart will fully empty its blood. No, no, never. So it has some remaining last end systolic volume, okay, which is maintaining those cardiac pressures. So that volume which is present at the end of systole, that is remaining, I should say actually, that is remaining at the end of systole within a single ventricle will be called end systolic volume. This amounts to about nearly about 50 ml, nearly about 50 ml. Are we clear? Now I go to the fourth point. Fourth point is fourth, I can take what? I think cardiac output I have told already, isn't it? So cardiac output. What is cardiac output? It is basically the product of stroke volume and heart rate, isn't it? Cardiac output is basically the product of stroke volume into heart rate. That means for this you have to understand stroke volume. I have taught you stroke volume. It's around 70 to 90 ml. 70 to 90 ml multiplied by 72 beats per minute. 72 beats per minute. That will be equal to more or less 5 liter per minute. That means the cardiac output is 5 liters per minute. Cardiac output is 5 liters per minute. Are we clear, guys? Cardiac output is 5 liters per minute. Is it clear? Do we have any doubt till this point? Everyone? Let us go to the next. Let me take the same quantity where I am using the cardiac output. That is the cardiac index. Cardiac index. What is cardiac index? Cardiac index means it is the ratio. Cardiac index is the ratio of the cardiac output to that body surface area. How much cardiac output you are giving to a body surface area, that will be called a cardiac index. Okay, so it will be equal to cardiac output divided by body surface area. Body surface area. And this body surface area is measured in meter squares. Okay, so it's around, I will tell you the value, it's around 3.2 liter per minute per meter square. Okay, and if they ask you the range, please write the range also. The range is between 2.8 to 4.2. Okay, the range of cardiac index, we also write it CI. So CI is equal to CO by body surface area. Body surface area. Is it clear? So there were other terminologies. I think mean blood pressure I have taught you in the previous, isn't it? So mean arterial pressure, I will say, or mean blood pressure. Mean blood pressure. What is mean blood pressure? So mean blood pressure is equal to cardiac output into TPR. What is TPR? Total peripheral resistance. So mean MBP is equal to CO into TPR, total peripheral resistance. Okay, that is equal to 70 to 100. 70 to 100. Mean blood pressure is equal to 70 to 100. Okay. Okay. Now you tell me, guys. Now I take you to the next definition. This is my lung. Okay. This is my right lung. I am asking you, this is having vessels, isn't it? This has vessels. This has blood vessels in it, isn't it? Blood vessels in it. So they will be behaving as resistors. They will be resisting the blood flow, isn't it? Will they be behaving? Have we learned in the hemodynamics that they will be behaving as resistances? Your pulmonary vasculature. So your pulmonary vessels will be giving a sort of a resistance. Who is giving the resistance? All the vasculature. All the vasculature will be giving a resistance. That resistance which is given by, listen to my word, which is given by all pulmonary vessels, all pulmonary vasculature. the resistance which is offered by all the pulmonary vasculature. Now to make it, I'm saying many ways to make you understand. That concept is called pulmonary vascular resistance. The resistance, see, when the blood is moving, it is giving some resistance also. They are behaving as resistors, isn't it? I am showing it from the bronchus, which is anatomically wrong. Okay, but I am just telling, making you understand. Okay, let me make a bronchus from this side. Okay, this is the vessel which is coming, supplying this main vessel. So this total resistance will, what will the resistance offered to this space will be equal to the sum of all these resistances. Okay, so we will be writing what? We will be writing next terminology will be seventh. That will be pulmonary vascular resistance. Pulmonary vascular resistance. What is pulmonary vascular resistance? It is the resistance offered by all the pulmonary vasculature. All the pulmonary vasculature. So in PVR, we are taking only what? We are taking only the vessels of the pulmonary system, isn't it? We are taking the vessels of the lungs. Okay. So that will be equal to how much? 40 to 120. 40 to 120. We measure it in dynes per second. Dynes second per meter square. Dynes second per centimeter square. Centimeter square actually. I think it's not centimeter square. It should be centimeter raised to the power 5. Okay. Yeah, it should be centimeter raised to the power 5. Okay. So centimeter 5. Fine. This is for this. Now I take you to 8th. If I talked about pulmonary vascular resistance, then I should talk about systemic vascular resistance. This was all about the lungs. This was all about the lungs. Then so there are also vessels present outside the lungs, isn't it? We have a whole body left there. So we'll talk about the systemic vascular resistance. Systemic vascular resistance is so easy to understand, isn't it? Small definitions, but they will make a difference when we are reading the cardiology. So systemic vascular resistance is basically, again, measured it like this, dyne second per centimeter 5. So systemic vascular resistance is basically the resistance of all your systemic vessels, all of your peripheral vessels, whatever is present except pulmonary, whatever vessels you have in the body except your vessels of the lungs. The resistance offered by those vessels that are extra pulmonary, I can use the word, another word, extra pulmonary, which are outside the pulmonary. So that those vessels will be offering a resistance. That resistance will be called systemic vascular resistance. So we write it SVR. So systemic vascular resistance will be resistance offered by all of the peripheral vessels or the systemic vessels. Okay, resistance offered by all systemic vessels, pulmonary vessels. Sorry, not pulmonary, systemic or peripheral. I'm sorry, peripheral vessels. Are we clear, guys? What is the quantity? 900 to 4400. You don't have to remember. I'm just telling you who is offering the high resistance out of the system. Is it systemic resistance or pulmonary resistance? Who is offering the highest resistance? It is the systemic resistance. So they are very much high. Systemics are offering high resistances. Okay. Are we clear with these terminologies? Do we have any doubt? Okay. Should only text me on this group because I can't see other messages. Okay. I am out of the Zoom. I am on the screen. Okay. So guys, you said that cardiac output is basically, if I go now into the cardiac output, okay, I go into the cardiac output. Let me go towards the topic, cardiac output. Guys, cardiac output, you said, no difference. We use it interchangeably. Okay, I haven't seen any difference. Okay, Maybe some books may be showing some difference, but it's I think same thing. Okay, we use it interchangeably. So cardiac output is basically what we said. Cardiac output is the product of stroke volume, or we can say cardiac output is the amount of blood ejected by each ventricle per minute. It is the amount of blood ejected, how much your ventricle will eject per minute. If they ask you someday, sometimes you are walking and you are asked, you tell us, if if I want to ask you, if they ask you like this, if I ask you a simple question, I will say, how much blood is your ventricle ejecting per minute? You know, a simple question. No, on the road, a small child will say, how much blood is being ejected by the each ventricle? How much blood? Oh, you think also well, one per minute? Yeah, it's an interesting question. 1 minute, how much ventricle is pushing? Each ventricle is pushing how much blood into the circulation? It is 5 liters per minute. It is 5 liters per minute, and that is your cardiac output. So you should tell him, my dear brother, you are talking about cardiac output. You are talking about cardiac output. So I should tell you definition of cardiac output. You are saying, are you saying, should confirm, are you saying that the amount of blood which is ejected by each ventricle per minute? Yes, my dear brother. So yeah, 5 liter per minute. So your answer should be 5 liter per minute. So I hope there is no difficulty or difference in all these terminologies. I don't think there is now any confusion, because you get confused. So that's why I took it in the beginning. That's why I took it in the beginning. Okay. I want you to remember this value, whatever I have taught you. Okay. Remember this value. This will be used everywhere in your MBBS schooling. Okay. 5 liter per minute is the best value to remember, because we will be doing calculations on this 5 liter. Okay. So how do you measure this cardiac output? How do we measure this cardiac output? So we have many methods to measure this cardiac output. We were having Fick principle. We were having dye dilution method, that is called thermodilution. We can also use the Doppler with echo. We can use MRI, okay, to measure these. Okay. So I want to tell you some principles, okay, give you some introduction of these principles, okay, what methods we are using, and then I will be telling you what factors are contributing to it. This cardiac output is the most important topic I can say out of all the cardiovascular physiology. Everything is important, but I can say it should be stressed. It should be understood clearly and concisely. Okay. So let me show you cardiac output. Let me write something about cardiac output for you. Okay. Let me write these ways to calculate the cardiac output. So I hope the screen is clear and recording is happening. Yeah. Because once you understand this cardiac output, then you will understand the cardiac valve, those cardiac function tests which we do. Okay. Okay. So I hope you know this. I hope you know this. We could calculate the stroke volume from what? How we were calculating the stroke volume and the diastolic volume. I have taught in the previous videos. You can check those videos. Okay. So end diastolic volume we were taking as, for example, if I take here 120 and end systolic volume I take as 50, then I will be having 70 ml, isn't it? I hope you remember this value also. 70 ml. Okay. And I told you at that time in the previous videos that stroke volume will determine your pulse pressure. So what was the pulse pressure? Systolic blood pressure minus diastolic blood pressure, isn't it? So it is the difference between, isn't it? Stroke volume is now the difference between end diastolic volume and end systolic volume. You can also say like this. Okay. So end diastolic volume minus end systolic volume will give you the stroke volume. Okay. Now, what are the principles? I don't want to go in that detail. I want to tell you principle only, how principle is happening. Okay. Now I tell you first what to say. What should I say? Um, Measurement of cardiac output. Measurement of cardiac output. How do we measure the cardiac output? Let us write the method names first. Okay. One is Fick method. Fick method. Second is dye dilution method. Dye dilution method. Okay. Dye dilution method. Dye dilution method, or we call it thermodilution. Thermodilution method. Thermodilution method. Third is Doppler, Doppler echo, Doppler echo and radionucleotide imaging, radionucleotide imaging. Fourth we can use is, we say it velocity encoded phase contrast MRI. For you people, I will be writing MRI, but I want to write the full name. It is velocity encoded. We use it in radiology. Velocity encoded phase contrast magnetic resonance imaging. So these are the ways you can measure the cardiac output, whether it is producing 5 liter or not per minute. Okay, that concept. I will give you a simple principle. Okay, which of the following is the accurate method for measuring the cardiac output? It is Fick principle. But problem is that I have to go inside the body of the patient. So it is an invasive method. I have to go inside the patient's body, invasive method. Okay, so what we do is we take an organ. To make it simple, this is an organ and this is your arterial supply. This is the arterial supply going towards the organ. Okay, this is the arterial supply which is going towards the organ. Okay, and this organ will be consuming some oxygen. If you are giving it the oxygen through the artery, then it should be coming out from the veins, isn't it? So it should be coming out from the venous supply. So it comes out from the venous supply. Okay. Now, whatever oxygen concentration is present in the arterial side, I should say it is a, I should say like this, it is the CaO. Okay. The oxygen, concentration. Okay. Oxygen concentration in the arterial blood. Don't take it calcium oxide. Okay. Or I can take like this to make it, not much confusing. I should use my chemistry concept, that is arterial O2 concentration. Okay, this is concentration we used to represent in the chemical kinetics in our 12th class, isn't it? Basics of chemistry. And if I want to draw here, this will be venous O2, venous O2 concentration. So I am determining this as concentration. Okay. Now, how will you calculate this? So when you have given, once you have given this oxygen to this, it will be consuming this oxygen. It will be consuming this oxygen, isn't it? And that means I will be indirectly calculating. I will be indirectly calculating how much blood you gave, how much blood you gave it, that much oxygen will be given to the site. That much oxygen will be given to the site. Okay, so you are calculating the cardiac output indirectly from the whole body oxygen consumption that we represent by VO2. Whatever blood you have sent from that whole body oxygen consumption, and whatever is the venous O2 return, whatever is the arterial O2 sent, whatever is the venous O2 return, isn't it? Because see, you are sending this car, you are loading this, isn't it? You are unloading it. First you are loading it with 4 apples. You are loading it with 4 apples. Then you send, the person inside has eaten 1 apple. Person has taken 1 apple, isn't it? So you can calculate easily. Now you should have what apple? 3 apples, isn't it? Are we able to understand? So whatever oxygen you are sending, whatever blood you are sending, that will tell you this. So how we calculate it? We have an equation for this. So cardiac output is equal to VO2. This is the whole body oxygen consumption divided by difference in the oxygen concentration in the arterial side and oxygen concentration in the venous side. Is it tough? It's not tough. Okay. So you will be telling me, sir, where do we get this mixed venous blood? You may have a question in the mind. how we are getting this mixed venous blood? How we are getting this mixed venous blood? We are getting it from the pulmonary artery. Okay, we are getting this from. That's why I told you it's an invasive method. It's an invasive method. So what we do is we put that catheter. Yes, exactly. Okay, arterial O2 concentration minus venous O2 concentration. Okay, yeah, that's what I wrote. Okay, so whatever oxygen will be consumed there, that will show you how much cardiac output you are giving. Okay, so it's all about consumption. It's all divided. This is consumption. This is about consumption, guys. Okay, this is consumption, and this is concentration. This is concentration. Okay, arterial and venous concentration. This is concentration. Whatever you came with, what you are left behind. Now, guys, the next method will be this dye dilution or thermodilution. Okay, dye thermodilution. Okay, second one. So dye thermodilution method, it was given by who gave this? Stewart Hamilton. That's why this is called, it's based on Stewart Hamilton principle. Stewart Hamilton principle. Okay, you know what they did in the beginning when they discovered this? What they did is they first used a dye that was called indocyanine green dye. They used a dye, indocyanine green dye. They used a dye, indocyanine green dye. Then later what they did is they replaced this dye. They replaced this dye by thermal indicator, I should write. They replaced it by thermal indicator. Thermal indicator. Okay. So use a thermodilution method. Thermodilution. Here I will write thermodilution. So they gave an equation that is called Stewart Hamilton equation. Okay, the equation says Q is equal to I by concentration into dt. Concentration into dt. That is, cardiac output is equal to amount of indicator divided by the concentration over that time. Okay, so if you want this equation, they used the word infinity also here, sort of a thing. Okay, and also a zero here. So if you want this equation to become simple, I will write the equation like this. Q is flow, Q is cardiac output. So I will write ml per minute. ml per minute is equal to mg of dye injected. This is a simplified form. Okay, this is a simplified form. So you should remember this one. So Q ml per minute is equal to mg of dye injected into 60 divided by average concentration of dye in each ml into duration of the curve in second. Okay. Just remember, just understand it. No need to know. I have, maybe I haven't come across a question on this, but just they will ask you, what is this thermodilution used for? Okay, maybe like that. Okay, so what do you do? What we do is, what we do in this thermodilution, we take a cold saline. Let me give you an overview. We take a cold saline and then we inject it directly into the right atrium. Okay, we put it in the right atrium. Okay, let me see, say like this. I inject directly this into the right atrium. I inject what? Cold saline. And whatever change in the pressure, blood temperature will happen. Whatever the blood temperature change will happen, I will measure it in the pulmonary artery. Because I know from the right atrium, can we understand the cardiac output relation? Okay, so whatever I will inject, I will see it in the pulmonary system. I will see it in the pulmonary system. That will tell me what how much this has pumped. That will tell me, because this right ventricle is in contact with what? With the lungs, pulmonary artery. So whatever you inject, whatever is reaching that pulmonary artery, the change in the temperature will tell me how much is the cardiac output. Because you should understand, cardiac output is measuring the one ventricle, how much you are producing by one ventricle, how much blood is being ejected by one ventricle, each ventricle. That is what your cardiac output is saying, isn't it? Okay, so you will be saying, sir, do we use it in clinical practice? No, because we don't have that much, we don't make the person so much inconvenient that you are removing the blood again and again from the arterial blood. You are removing the blood from the arteria and taking it and then plotting the curves. Okay, so what we do in this method, you may have come across a catheter. After injection in the right atrium, we will check the pressure, temperature change in the pulmonary artery. And if you have read my cardiac output cycle, this cardiac cycle, then you will definitely understand what I mean, isn't it? Everything does not need to be taught. Just understanding that cardiac output. Okay. No, don't ask the examiner that why are you asking this if you are not using it in the hospital. Okay. He will say, okay, don't go home. I have to discuss everything here because it's part of your course first year. Okay, it's part of your course. But yeah, one thing from this thermodilution method is important. One thing is important that we use. We use a catheter. We use a catheter that is called Swan-Ganz catheter. Swan-Ganz catheter is basically a thermistor tipped catheter. Thermistor tipped catheter. Okay, what we do, we put this catheter in any of your peripheral vein and then reach the pulmonary artery. Okay, and then reach the pulmonary artery. This much first understand. What I do, I go to any peripheral vein because I know from the peripheral vein, where will I reach finally? I'll be reaching into pulmonary artery. How? Because from pulmonary vein, I will go into inferior vena cava, from inferior vena cava, go to the right atrium, from right atrium, see, nursery school, isn't it? Nursery school. From right atrium, I will be going into right ventricle, and finally from right ventricle, I'll be going to pulmonary artery. Now, is it clear, the student who asked the question of cardiac output? Okay, I will say again for that if he is not understanding. See, what I do is I take a cold saline solution. Cold saline solution. Cold saline means I will taking 0.9% sodium chloride. If you have joined my class before, I have taught every solutions in the beginning. What is Ringer's lactate? What is normal saline? You see everything in the hospital. So what is the difference? So I have taught that in the beginning. So cold saline solution, 0.9% sodium chloride. Okay, we put how much volume? 10 ml at room temperature. 10 ml of this at room temperature. Over what period of time? Over 4 seconds. Okay, now you made me to say this. Okay, I'll say 4 seconds. Or you can put 5 ml ice cold NaCl. Ice cold NaCl for 2 seconds. Isn't it now equal? Yeah, guys, is this equal one and the same thing? You are putting this 10 ml 4 seconds. This is 5 ml 2 seconds. Okay. We put this in the right atrium. Inject it in the right atrium. Okay. Inject it in the right atrium. Okay. We take a port, a sort of a port. Okay. That is called a proximal catheter port. I don't need to go into that. And then when you inject this cold saline, it will mix with the blood. And that blood will go into the right ventricle. And then into the pulmonary artery. And there it will be cooling the blood also. It will be cooling the blood. The blood temperature is then measured by this thermistor catheter. So at the tip of the Swan-Ganz catheter, I can measure the temperature. Are we clear? So what I do is, in the pulmonary artery, I have this Swan-Ganz catheter, which is now connected outside with the computer. It is connected outside with the computer. So I will get on the screen a profile that is called thermodilution profile. Thermodilution profile. I will get a thermodilution profile. So what the computer is doing, it is computing the change delta T. In short, it is computing the delta T. Okay. So once as much as the blood is flowing over the surface of the catheter, it will be measuring the temperature changes. Okay. Okay. Now this is done. Temperature change has been calculated. Now it will calculate the cardiac output from the right ventricle. It will calculate the flow also using this temperature information. Okay. So how much volume you injected? So what will be that called? Injectate, isn't it? Whatever volume you injected, I can say injectate in Shuddha English. So injectate is being inserted. They have put the volume of that injection, that is the injectate, and we are saying how much temperature changes are happening and how much is flowing. That is the main motto of measuring the cardiac output. Okay. You can repeat this experiment many times. Okay. If you do it many times, you will be then taking an average of how many things you did. You will take an average. Okay. Now the problem is that I have taught you in the cardiac cycle that once you inspire or expire, your cardiac cycle, your cardiac output will change. Isn't it? Your cardiac output changes with respiration. So you have to inject it at the end of expiration. If I am a wise doctor, I will inject it at the end of expiration. End of expiration. I hope you understand why. Isn't it? At the end of expiration. If you are not able to understand this, that means you need to go into my cardiac cycle videos, cardiac output videos, the previous videos on cardiovascular system, because I can't repeat everything in the video. Otherwise we get time gets lost. We get lost in this topic. We will reach to some other place. So I want to make myself mean I have taught everything. So it does not need to be repeated again and again, because I have repeated it, I think, in the previous 6 videos again and again. So here I will not be repeating that. So at the end of expiration, we are injecting it. So what can happen with this method? Now I want to tell you some complications of thermodilution, because you have asked the question. So I am telling you now the complication. So somebody asked me a question, so that's why I am explaining it more. Complication. So complications are arrhythmias. Wanted to make it limited, but someone asked a question, so I am explaining it. Arrhythmias. What else? Infections. Then pulmonary artery rupture. Then right heart valve damage. Okay. And mostly goes towards the poor prognosis. Now understood? Okay. Is it clear? So next method is third. Yeah, let us try the third method. The third method. I'm not seeing the answers of other students. Why? What happened? Are you angry that we are learning? I think some people are sleeping, enjoying the time, isn't it? Evening time, watching the sky, using their phones, isn't it? Using the window. So let me tell you, don't want to teach this Doppler, but yeah, tell you some important things at your first year level, because we are in the first year class. Why I don't have to speak so much high things in the medicine or surgery or something or radiology. We have to keep ourselves limited according to the class, isn't it? Because if we start teaching, then we will land into something else. Okay, that's why I'm keeping myself. No, we have to study that much, which is important from the first year point. Okay, no need to go into the research method, because I know you read some things on the internet also and you get lost. You end at nowhere. You end at nowhere. At the end, when we asked, tell me at least something about this principle, dye dilution, then what you say? It is something where temperature is being seen. No, at least remember this, my dears. Okay, so we know at the end of the second year how much you remember physiology. Some people are not able to, I've seen, not able to speak about the definition of cardiac output. I promise, because there is so much overload of information. That's why we are letting you remain consistent and concise towards one path. We don't want to overburden. We have so many things to study. If we land into research, then MBBS will be there only. It will stay at the back. We have to first know what is normal. Then we can do our research. Okay. So I know there is so much material on the internet. I know. I can understand your problem. You feel that we don't study more, we study this. So I am making it more oriented towards thing, physiology, whatever you need to study. Okay. The concern is to understand human physiology. The concern is not to understand the Werner caliper. Okay. The concept is not to understand Werner caliper. The concept is to understand cardiac output. Who will affect cardiac output? Who will inhibit the cardiac output? As a doctor, which drugs will stop the heart? Which drugs? This is what you have to study. So if you have to go in that research, then the branch is different. It's not medicine. Then it becomes what? Biochemistry, biotechnology, biophysics. There are so many branches you can opt for. Not medicine. Not medicine. Because we are here reading integrated things. It's basically a mixture of things. If you understand medicine, it is basically a mixture of things. We are reading from every concept. We are reading physical concepts also. We are reading chemical concepts also. So we are having some mixed. It's a hybrid of something. And if we land into one speciality at this moment, then it will cause problem. We have to first have a general idea of everything. Then only we can go for a specialization. And in that specialization also we will be remaining more oriented towards that subject, cardiology, neurology, not going into how a positive and negative wire is connected to give a shock. No, it's not the concept. We know how to connect, but we don't have to go what will depend on the light of the government, what will happen on the electricity on the government. That is not our concern. Because if we start, we have already so much burden on our head. Are we clear, friends? So remain oriented, read books, but remain oriented, know what you have to know. Because you have to see what we can remember at the end of second year, at the end of first year, what we can remember in the third year. Now you have second year people in the class also, third year people. Ask them, do they even remember the stroke volume definition? They will tell you, no, sir. Right now, not able to remember. We know, but we don't remember. We know what is stroke volume. It is something which is coming out. But if I ask the preferred definition, what is stroke volume, then it creates a problem for them. Okay. So please understand, read at least this much again and again. It will sharpen your skill. You will get, I think that much knowledge that you can understand the second year. Okay. Now Doppler echo technique is basically, or a radionuclide image I take. I want to say simple one thing. We check the changes happening in the ventricular dimensions. So whatever changes we have, that motion changes in the ventricular dynamics. So we see ventricular dimensions. So changes in ventricular dimensions will tell you the stroke volume. Okay, what they will do? They will calculate the stroke volume with this technique, and they will also multiply it with the heart rate. Yes, they got the cardiac output, isn't it? So this formula is handy. Stroke volume they know by this method. Heart rate they already know. Multiply that and you will get the cardiac output. Okay. So every method has its own limitations. Okay. It's not that every method is a good method. Okay. I'll be telling you in the end which is most reliable, which is less reliable, to make you easy what to remember out of these. Okay. Third you should write. Third you should write is velocity encoded phase contrast MRI. Velocity encoded phase contrast MRI. I wrote it in short. Okay. So Most accurate for measuring the flow in the large vessels. So remember, most accurate. Uh, see, again, that third year question. See, it depends on whether I have to check hypertrophy or something else, not only the flow. Not only the flow, because we have other tests for cardiac functions also. We give an inotrope agent and then we pump the blood. So it will depend on the situation. Okay. So echo is definitely used for any cardiac dynamic changes, motion changes due to hypertrophy or obstruction, HOCM, hypertrophic obstructive cardiomyopathy. So it will depend on the situation. Okay. But yeah, we are using echo as a routine. You are seeing it, echo is being used for this motion changes. Okay. So most accurate velocity encoded phase contrast magnetic resonance image. It is the most accurate technique for measuring the blood flow in the large vessels. For measuring the blood flow in the large vessels. Okay. So if you now tell me, sir, which is good? Okay. Is MRI flow measurement good or fixed? In case of accuracy, okay. Again, saying to your question, in case of accuracy, MRI highly accurate. Okay. Because Fick principle is variable. Fick principle changes, but MRI, so I will make like this. We used to make a table in the school in the first year. Fixed principle, fixed method, and thermodilution. So who is most reliable in low cardiac output state? Who is most reliable in low cardiac output state? If you have a cardiac output state, which will you rely on? Fixed principle. So in a low cardiac output state, I will go for fixed method. I hope you understand. Low cardiac output state, I go for fixed method. Then what is less reliable in fixed method? Opposite. Fabina, are we clear? Fabina, are we clear? I gave you your answer. You said, sir, why, who is being used? Okay. So high output states, high cardiac output state. You will use what? Not more reliable. Not reliable. Thermodilution. Now you will tell me most reliable for what? Where will I rely this more? On in which state? High cardiac output state. I hope you understand. High cardiac output state. High cardiac output state, I will rely on thermodilution. Okay. But less reliable in this, in which? Pulmonary regurgitation. I will write some diseases. Okay. Pulmonary regurgitation, tricuspid regurgitation, and what else? Intracardiac shunt. Intracardiac shunt. At least remember these three. So fixed method, low cardiac output state, I will rely. Most reliable, most reliable. These are most reliable. Okay. These both are most reliable for these. Okay. Most reliable. Okay, guys. Are we clear with these concepts? And these are something, which you need to know. Okay. There is no problem in understanding. Just have to remember that at least fixed method and thermodilution you can understand, which is for high cardiac output, which is for low cardiac output. Because then I told you in the beginning that you have to understand wherever I am taking you. Okay. Then think in that direction. Otherwise, you will get lost. Okay. Think in that direction. Um, by the way, in the fixed principle, how were we obtaining the arterial blood to check that O2? We do an ABG sort of a thing. Do we know ABG? Have I taught you ABG? Arterial blood gases. We do it in the intensive care unit. I have taught in the beginning, first year people, I think. Arterial blood gas, ABG. I think it's the previous batch, isn't it? It's the previous batch which I taught, which is now in the third year, isn't it? So yeah. So I'll be teaching you that in the respiratory or in kidney. Okay, physiology. I will tell you how will you diagnose whether the patient has metabolic acidosis, whether the compensatory mechanism is happening. Okay, don't worry about that. So I think we will take the next topic in the next video. Okay, I hope you have enjoyed this, and this cardiac output we will be taking more forwards. Okay, so please have a good reading of this from the books. Okay, wherever you find any doubt. Okay. So thank you very much. See you all tomorrow. Take care. Bye bye.